Hey, what's up, y'all? This is William, the Permaculture Consultant. Before we get started with today's Permaculture Q&A, I wanted to remind you guys that July 6th, there's a Homesteaders Meetup. It's at Bob Wells Nursery in Mineloa, Texas. Apparently, it's a pretty cool nursery. I've never been there, but we're going to go find out. And another cool thing is that we get 10% off any purchases we make while we're there. And apparently, they have some pretty cool trees and stuff. I'm wondering what kind of fruit tree guilds I can make out of the stuff that's available at Bob Wells. But anyway, that's this weekend. All the details are linked down below. If you have any permaculture Q&A questions that you want answered, leave it down below in the comments with the hashtag permaculture Q&A at the beginning of it. And if you need consultations, email me. It's linked down below. Let's get started. This is from Ann in Texas. What scythe do you use and where did you get it? I purchased an inexpensive one after seeing your videos and it's junk. Please keep in mind I'm in my mid 60s and not much over 100 pounds. Thanks for all the instruction. It motivates me. Thank you so much, Ann in Texas. Now, as far as the scythe, given your stats there, I probably would avoid using a scythe. In most scenarios, a weed eater or a lawnmower are better applications. There's one popular video going on right now. I don't remember his name. It's some, I want to say Dutch or Austrian or German, I don't know. One of those guys, and he's mowing an entire hectare in one day, seeing if it's possible. Now, mind you, he has a specialty grass blade that's extra long. It's like that much or even further. It's like a whole forearm longer than mine. And, you know, it's a pretty challenging thing for him to do. I think he does end up accomplishing it, but he goes from all the way from dawn till dusk, scythe mowing. And it's, you know, it's taxing. It's not as easy as what a lot of people make it seem to be on Instagram and stuff. Like a lot of people here know that I'm doing a scything every day until it goes viral type thing on Instagram. And a lot of people say, hey, you're not making it look as easy as these people, and then send me clips of people mowing in very, very soft grass, very, very flat pasture with probably no fire ant hills to deal with, or saplings that they just cleared from the property. A lot of those places are very, very well-established pastures that they're mowing. In my case, it is not that. It is, it's a lot of brush. It's a lot of hardier species. Very rarely do I have grass, like fresh, tender grass that I'm mowing. So it requires a little bit technique and a lot more effort than the traditional mowing in a flat pasture, maybe clover or some very tender grass. But if you're dead set on having a scythe, I wouldn't recommend getting this one. This is one of those Seymour ones. It is lightweight. There is that benefit. It's just, it doesn't seem to be shaped very well. Like the overall shape of this body does not, it seems like that there's better designs for scything. Also, this one is a little bit too short for me. That's not going to apply to you necessarily, unless you're just like super tall. That's not going to apply to you, but you could get an Austrian, for a little bit more of an investment, you could get an Austrian variety and have it made and fit to your exact dimensions, basically. Now, this is a fantastic tool. I love using the scythe. It's not for everybody, and I specifically use it to well, at first I used it to scythe this new property because that was all I had at first, was just a scythe. But you could use it to make and collect compost, which is exactly what I use it for 90% of the time. I use it because it's very good at chopping things down and then directing that chopped down material exactly where you want it. It's going to be on the same side over and over again if you're going in a straight line. If you do it in circles, you end up with a pile in the middle, stuff like that. So it's a handy tool. This is a Seymour. I've also reached out to a lot of manufacturers and not one person has ever gotten back with me. So it's going to require some more scything until it goes viral videos, I'm sure. But yeah, hopefully that helps. This next one's from Jensen Family Homestead. I potted some tomato cuttings in a container that a blueberry came in from the store, about 1.5 gallon pot. I set them on the compost pile and forgot about them for a week or so. When I moved them back to check to see if they were ready to plant, I noticed the roots had grown through the bottom of the pot and into the compost pile. Should I leave it there for a season or move it even though it will break off the roots? I would go ahead and remove it. I wouldn't wait for another season because that just means the roots are going to become even more established in there. But yeah, I would go ahead and remove it and call it good. Now, you do obviously want to avoid putting your pots directly into a compost pile, but it does bring up a pretty cool potting technique that actually air prunes your roots. So what's his name? Akiva Silver. He talks about tree propagation and stuff like that. He's up in New York, but he has a design for this little It's almost like a raised bed that you can just pick up. It's small enough to pick up, but underneath has hardware cloth that will air prune your tree roots. So that way, whenever you pull them out to transplant them, you're not causing a bunch of damage. There's a limit to how much your roots are going to grow. Also, they won't bind up on you. So pretty cool little technique. This next one is from Austin Trees. Do you have a video about the benefits of compost tea, how to make it and how to use it? I have fruit trees that have peach leaf curl, and I made the mistake of putting all my stone fruit near each other. Not sure if I should just use copper fungicide or if compost tea would be better. Compost tea would 100% definitely be better. Now, as far as making it, compost tea is a little bit difficult. You can do compost extracts. It's just the difference between tea and an extract is that the extract doesn't have the glues that the tea has, and making the tea is a little bit more complicated in the process because you have to feed the organisms while they're in an aerator, a specifically designed shape aerator, and you have to be able to feed them enough where they multiply, but not too much where they over multiply and then you finish the cycle a little bit too quickly. Everything dies and now you have anaerobic water with no life in it. So for more information on that, I would check out actually my parents' channel, Permaculture's Farm. They might have content, I can't remember if they do or not, definitely on compost extracts, but they might have it on compost teas as well. If you can't find it there, then check out Dr. Elaine Ingham at the Soil Food Web. I don't know that she has any free content on actually how to make compost tea or not. I haven't made any on this channel yet. I'm gonna have to get a little bit more established before I can start making compost teas, because it does require a very clean water source. It does require an aerator, so power, electricity. I don't have any of that stuff on right now, so it's gonna have to wait. So for now, I would suggest just doing compost extracts, which is just putting your compost in a 400 micron bag, dunking it in a 5-gallon bucket for 30 seconds, and then going and applying it directly wherever you need it to. You can use it as a foliage spray. It's gonna be way less efficient because the organisms are gonna stick at a lower rate because they don't have those glues developed. They're gonna have to develop the glues on the surface of the leaf. And also the right application of the season, all that type of stuff comes into a factor as well whenever you're applying compost teas or extracts. Sorry, that's the best answer I have for you right now, but I know a lot of people are wondering and a lot of people are asking. This one is from Engineer Meg. Dig the channel and content, no question there. Thank you so much. Number 2, we observe many channels now having many edits every few seconds with no rhyme or reason as to why. Care to expand on this matter? Okay, so it could be a few different things. Whenever you first start a YouTube channel, you start researching like what are best practices for YouTube. A lot of people will tell you, a lot of these YouTube coaches will tell you that you should take out any gaps between your sentences and make it like quick cut content. It's kind of hard to say. Quick cut content. A good example of that is Mr. Ballin. He would make a couple sentences or a couple statements and then cut, and then a couple sentences, cut, over and over and over again. So part of it is like a trend type thing. It increases attention span. I can't even talk. This is stuff you would edit out. So this is example number 2. Number 1, I'm trying to say is it'll increase your attention span. For some people, other people it distracts. Number 2 is that people fumble like that. Some people fumble more often than others. For me, it just kind of depends on the video. Some videos have a ton of retakes, a bunch of edits, and then other videos are just like, I got it right the first time. I don't know how. But usually, if I have too many edits within a clip, then I'll just try to reshoot the clip, or if as I'm shooting it, I'm realizing like, wow, that's a lot I'm gonna have to edit out. I'll just reshoot the clip if possible. Sometimes it's not possible because sometimes you only get one take on this stuff. But permaculture Q&A, usually I can do a retake if I catch it in time. But yeah, that's number 2. Number 3 is that people are very self-conscious, especially if you're editing yourself. You're gonna be very self-conscious about what you sound like, how you sound. Am I speaking fast? Am I speaking slow? All that type of stuff while you're editing. So part of it could be a little phase that they're going through saying like, okay, I need to speed things up, or I need to slow things down, or I'm just rambling, stuff like that. Another reason is that it was kind of a trendy thing to do for a while. Weird thing about YouTube is that what's a trending way to basically produce your videos will change about every 3 months or so. I've been doing this for quite a while, not necessarily on just this channel, but also on Permaculture's farm, and I've had to pay attention to this stuff for a while. About every 3 months, the popular way to make a video will change. Now, that could be very, very beneficial to somebody who's able to pay attention to that, stay on track and all that type of stuff, and do it before the trend ends to build your channel and stuff. The downside of that is if you're trying to make, I'm not saying that they're not making honest content, but if you're trying to make honest, consistent content, you can't do that. You got to just make videos your own way type thing. And either people will like that or people won't like that. And then if they like it, then there's your audience right there. So yeah, that's a little behind the scenes on what it's like to be a YouTube content creator. This one is from White Lead Tree. I have a small site that I'm transitioned from let me start that over. See, that's another example of editing out right there. I would have edited that out or retook all of it, but I'm not going to, just to show you the whole process. So this one is from White Lead Tree. I have a small site that I've transitioned from Bermuda grass monoculture to a forest of pioneers by smothering with mulch. However, the leguminous pioneers, Tipuana tipu, cassia, I don't know the rest of that, but I think I know what you're talking about. It's like that tropical evergreen, I think. Tropical evergreen being like a pine, I believe. I could be wrong. Where was I? Lucina, the rest, yeah. So I think that's more of a ground covering species. Y'all, we should either pick common names or scientific names, one or the other. I'm down for whichever one. I don't have a particular preference. Just let's pick one. Because some of these I might recognize the common names. Actually, I think I recognize all of these. Introduced, back to it, have remained miniature and stagnant in growth. Interestingly, the non-legumes have massive growth, castor bean and tobacco tree. Could this be a soil issue? Perhaps not, even though enough plant species were tested. Do you know why the nitrogen-fixing species appear to be stagnant in growth and possible fixes? Poor soil and zone 9B. So your castor bean and your tobacco tree. So the first thing that popped into my head was that your leguminous species minus the ground cover, which I think is your Lucina. If not, then it's the tree that looks basically like every other nitrogen fixing tree. Same, almost similar to your Tipuana tipu, or if you're here, blue false indigo in like North America, I mean. But the first thing that popped into my head was that there's a compaction layer somewhere that the taproot is not able to penetrate past. And if it's not able to penetrate past, then that's going to slow down growth. Another thing that I was thinking of is that it could have been planting technique. You could have planted it a little bit too deep for the preferences of trees. Trees like to be planted high 99% of the time, like a little bit, like maybe an inch or two above the existing soil surface level if you're planting it in a pot. If you're planting it from bare root, then you want to make sure that graft union is as high above the ground as possible. So those could be reasons that I'm erring on the side that there's either a compaction layer or improper planting techniques. That's not a diss on you. I've killed more trees than a little bit, so don't take it as a bad way. It's just a lot of people don't realize that there are proper ways to plant certain plants and improper ways to plant those plants. So I would check those out. This one is from Daniel B. Now this guy's he's been watching the channel for a long time. Well, my channel since the creation, and then also Permaculture's farm for a long time. So shout out Daniel. Do you have suggestions for butchering in the summer? I literally just did this. I've been to a pig butchering course, was cool, and I need to buy Billy's pig butchering course PDF to further help. By the way, Dad at Permaculture's farm has a pig processing course you can find as a PDF. He has it for sale and his link. But my main concern is the heat. I live in South Carolina and I have two pigs that need to go in the freezer, but it has gotten hot. How do I do this? Just wait for fall. I have large coolers, but not a walk-in freezer. Worried about food quality and flies. Thanks, William. So what I just did was, we weren't in South Carolina. I'm assuming it's quite a bit warmer in South Carolina than where I was in Tennessee, but it was just outside Knoxville. I helped my friend Tony from the Confessionals, check out his podcast if you haven't. I helped him process his two pigs that he actually got from Ben Holler at the Holler Homestead. Hooked those two up. Ben Holler listened to the channel, the Confessionals podcast, and ended up selling Tony some pigs. Anyways, that amount of time later, it's time to process those pigs. He had 2 American guinea hogs, and it was dead of summer, and it was like in the 90s all day, every day while I was there. So what we did was, first day, shot him in the head. the pigs, shot the pigs in the head, gut, skin, cut them in half, cut them down the sagittal plane, and then we broke it down into primals, which are basically large muscle groups. And then we put those primals, he had 2 freezers. He had a stand-up freezer, and then he had like a chest deep freeze. We put those primals spaced out as much as possible into those areas and let them sit overnight. So basically from maybe 1 p.m. till 9 a.m. the next day, they were sitting in the freezer until they stiffened up. Some of the smaller pieces were completely frozen solid. Some of the other pieces were just like perfect to the touch. And what I would do is, we were in his garage, had no AC or anything. I would pull out 1 primal at a time, completely break that down, get it packaged up, and get it set over to, before this, we consolidated all the meat to 1 freezer. And then I would break it down, package it, put it in the freezer. He would package, I would break it down, and we put it in the freezer. And we would just work our way through the pig doing that entire process. If you're going to do it yourself in the summer, then I would recommend doing that. Don't kill, if you have 2 pigs, then I would only kill 1 at a time and not kill the other one until it's, until you have that other one broken down into primals and in the freezer. Don't worry, pigs don't care that you just wiped out their buddy. They don't even mind. Just give them a little bit of snacks, a little bit of feed. Now, whenever you do kill them, kill one of them and the other one's still in the pen, you want to make sure that the other one doesn't have the access to the blood of the one you just killed. So if it's a more mobile fencing, try to lift up the net and put it on the other side of where the pig just dropped, and you should be good. So yeah, hopefully that helps. It is entirely possible. You don't have to ruin any meat or anything like that. You just have to, work quickly and work in batches. Another option is that you just take them to the processor. That's 100% an option. You could, now they're gonna be heavy, but you could shoot them, gut them, and then bring them to the processor if you wanted to. Or you could bring them in live if you wanted to as well. It'll take a little bit to get them to get into the trailer. I will be doing a video on how to actually do that here pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. How to get pigs into your trailer after they're fully grown and past the point of picking them up. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Alrighty, this one is from Angelina Funk. We have an abundance of slugs and squirrels. What can I do to help my food forest survive? They are eating everything I plant. So for the slugs, you could get ducks. Ducks are like the classic permaculture answer to slugs and snails and all that type of stuff. And believe it or not, ducks do, like 1 or 2 ducks will take care of a pretty decent sized area. It doesn't require nearly as many ducks as a lot of people think. So keep that in mind. As far as your squirrels go, you could, now Dad doesn't vouch for this as far as the bone sauce goes, but there have been quite a few people, Danny and Wanda included, that will paint bone sauce, which is a product my dad makes. I'll link it down below. It's a deer repellent, but a lot of people use it for other animals as well. But they'll paint old socks, throw them up in a tree, and that'll keep squirrels away, apparently. A lot of people have said that works. If not, you can always break out a 22 and, you know, catch dinner every day. So hopefully that helps. Alrighty, this one is from Big Scholastic. Where I live in Japan, we regularly get animals digging up our gardens and food forest patches. My father-in-law thinks it's either a tanuki, a sort of raccoon dog common around these parts. I'm gonna flash a picture of what a tanuki is because I've never even heard of that before. A raccoon dog, or a baby wild boar that's been messing with our gardens over the last couple of weeks. I got one of those solar-powered ultrasonic animal repellent devices that I'm going to install there soon, but I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how to deter them. According to the old man, most of the neighbors who run commercial operations have electrified the plots on their land, so ours is one of the only ones where animals are free to roam. Would you recommend trying something like bone sauce in our case? Thanks, bro. You have learned a lot from you, plus your moms and pops. Thank you so much, dude. That's cool. We got viewers in Japan. Anyway, bone sauce won't work on animals like that. Like, it won't work on raccoons, it won't work on wild boars because they would basically eat the contents of bone sauce. I think it doesn't attract them, but they would probably lick it off the tree. But as far as your tanuki problem, I would probably just follow the practices of the surrounding neighbors. If they have a way that works for them, then chances are that's probably the best way. Then that's by electrifying their fields. You could get some Premier One netting. I don't know what the alternative is in Japan, if there is an alternative. If not, then just order Premier One, get some of that netting, electrify it, and then put it around your garden. That would probably, if that's what everybody's doing, then chances are that's probably a good way to go as far as your farmers, your local farmers and stuff like that. And it seems like a pretty benign way to protect their farms. It's not like they're spraying chemicals or killing anything. They're just keeping an electrified barrier around their garden and stuff. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's probably what I would recommend doing. This one is from user DD3GL4RL9Q. Computer generated, I'm sure. If I am planting a new fruit tree in a low weed pressure area, do I need to put down cardboard before covering the area with compost and mulch? Yes. Even if there are no like competing weeds in the area where you're wanting to plant a tree, the cardboard and mulch isn't necessarily, like, its main goal isn't to suppress weeds. That's just the byproduct. The main goal is to start inviting the microbes to the area, start feeding the tree, start inviting the worms with the compost or with the cardboard, because the corrugation in the cardboard, the worms just like. They use it as like a little worm superhighway. So it's going to invite them. The mulch is going to give a food source for fungi. It's going to provide an awesome habitat. It's going to help retain water, all types of stuff. So the weed pressure is kind of just like a bonus that it does, is that like it helps retain or helps keep back weeds and stuff. That's just a little bonus that compost or that cardboard and mulch and all that stuff has. The other benefits are way too great to ignore, basically. So anytime you plant a tree, put down cardboard, put down mulch. If you have it, put down compost, always to the surface. Nature always fertilizes on the surface, so don't do anything into the hole of the tree or anything like that. And that should, you know, increase your survivability, your growth, all types of stuff. It's really good for your tree. Now, before we end the video, that was the last question. Before we end the video, I did want to make a little announcement, and I wanted to hurry up and put it out before anybody copied what I just did in the last video, and that was using a torch to kill the bugs. Now, the torch killed the doggone bugs. The downside, though, is that it killed a lot of my other plants. Like, look at this pepper. It's crispy now. I didn't even think I hit it that hard. So if you do this, you got to be super, super gentle. This pepper right here is completely fine, but also the ground cover. It apparently clover's pretty doggone delicate when it comes to a flamethrower, which obviously makes sense. Cool thing though is that it did wipe out the pests. The tomatoes, 99% of these tomatoes are fine. In fact, I still have some fresh tomatoes I need to harvest and stuff. Most of the peppers are fine as well. Most of those were completely unaffected. But yeah, it did kill some plants. So if you do that, if you use that method, be careful. The rosemary actually survived. Look at that. You can still see some green tips right here. The rest of it is crunchy. I don't know what that is, but it's dead. But those tomatoes right there are pretty good. Some of them have that end blossom rot, but you know, not the end of the world. I'll get that fixed by next season. This one's looking pretty good. Look at that one. Oh no, I got it too. Dang. What about these guys? That's looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna take that home for sure. And there's some more over here hiding. I'm gonna take those home too. But yeah, just keep in mind, if you're using the flamethrower, if you're using the blowtorch, just be gentle. It doesn't require as much as you think, apparently. But it did work. So, if you have any permaculture Q&A questions you want answered, leave it down below in the comments section. If you need a consultation, then hit up the links down below. Can't wait to see you guys Saturday. Another little behind the scenes thing is I'm about to make a ton of compost. I got all the materials back here. Anyways, I'm giving away too much. See you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.